Welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2021 season, as we look ahead to this week's Super League playoff semi-final against the Leeds Rhinos at the Totally Wicked Stadium on Friday evening. Kevin, nice of you to join me. I'm really disappointed.
What are you disappointed in, Dave?
Because this was supposed to be the week where we got to bash wire.
Fair enough.
We'll still be watching the video, so hello. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin.
But yes, I turn up for the Bucks. Hull KR going there last Thursday and winning, which means that the Leeds Rhinos come our way after nilling the Pies on Friday night. Oh joy, oh joy. Was that the best rugby league weekend that you've had without Saints playing?
Potentially, yes. Potentially. Two deserved results as well. I don't think you can take either result away from the team. I mean, nilling someone obviously shows the signs of a good performance, but you know what? That Hull KR just played with just that edge, just that this actually matters. And considering there's a couple of Warrington players leaving and the coaches leaving, they were a bit underwhelming, weren't they?
And I think we spoke about it in advance, didn't we? We always felt that Hull KR had a better chance of getting the results at Warrington than Wigan, and vice versa. Leeds had a better chance of getting the results at Wigan than at Warrington, and that was how it proved to be. And both Hull KR and Leeds Rhinos fully deserve their spots in the semis this week. Hull KR obviously having maybe the tougher trip, having to travel to the south of France to play the Catalan Dragons, obviously, who are deservedly top place finishers and winning the League Leaders Shield. And it's a sellout there this Thursday evening, so that's going to be tough for them. But you never know, do you? And I think that is what we need to take into account with playing Leeds this Friday night.
Yeah, it's a one-off game, isn't it? Anything can happen in a one-off game. I think Leeds and Hull KR have got a free hit. There's no pressure whatsoever on them. So they've got a free go at it, and they're not expected to win. You think it's possibly, I mean, to be fair, Hull KR play some decent stuff, but you think that Catalan over there would manage the game well enough to, with a sellout crowd, would manage the game well enough to have enough to win. Same with us. We're at the Totally Wicked Stadium. We've got the kind of strike power, the pack that everyone pretty much fears, possibly with the exception of Catalan. And we should get through this game, no issues. But as you say, it's a one-off game. So even though I am confident about the game, if we go into it with anything less than the skill set, the attitude, the kind of want to win, and don't just turn up and in the first 10, 20 minutes think, we've got this one easy, Leeds only finished fifth, it doesn't really matter. We'll come through this. If we go into it with any sort of kind of easing off the gas, Leeds could shock us, mate. Leeds could shock us. I don't necessarily buy the Leeds have had a hex over us, but I don't buy the fact that might come into it too much. I mean, you look at the last time that they beat us in a playoff game, I think it was 2017. There's only Tom Briscoe of that team still there. If we're going to start picking things like that, then we should be more worried about Hull KR, because they've got Jimmy Carnhorst, Ryan Hall, then they've got Danny Maguire in the background. They've got Tony Smith, who was the 2007 Grand Final winning coach. So if we're worried about the team, as in the name Leeds, then fair enough. But we shouldn't be worrying necessarily about individual players, because there isn't the same amount of Kevin Sinfields, Rob Burrows, Danny Maguire playing for them and getting them through them games. So take that out of your head. That's got nothing to do with this game. It's about who turns up on the day, and hopefully we can continue our good form and I'll turn up on the day.
is it fair to say that had Wigan been any sort of competent last week, that they should have probably gone on and won that game? Leeds did well, but you only have to score against Wigan to get the victory, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, our mate Andrew Foster kept putting up about the points per game that Lee outscored Wigan points per game this season. If Wigan were any good going forward, and they've got the players to do it, then yeah, it'd have been a lot tougher. I'm not saying Leeds wouldn't have won, but it'd have been a lot tougher. But you just get the feeling with Wigan that they've gone through the motions at the end of the season because they knew Adrian Lamb was leaving, and they need a big culture change for them to get back up into the proper swing of things. I think it might be a reflection on Super League that they managed to finish fourth despite being one of the worst Wigan teams. What since when did they nearly get relegated? Was that 2007-ish something?
Was it 2006, 2007?
Something like that. They're probably the worst team since then. And I bet Wigan fans have more fun watching them back then when they got nearly relegated than finishing fourth this season and being powder puff going forward.
Indeed. I'm not worried about the Leeds name this week. I think we've seen enough. I think we've won 8 out of 10 of the last games against Leeds. That hex should be over. And in terms of the way we perform now in semis and finals, I think Justin Holbrook and then obviously Christian Wolf following him, we've changed that mentality. We know what's needed in these big games. And I think Christian Wolf was talking in his interview this week, and he was basically saying that the preparation for this semi-final is exactly the same as the one last season for the playoffs, where players had a couple of weeks off to get themselves right. And then in that Catalan game, we actually put in one of our best performances of the season to get to Old Trafford. To Hull. I can't remember a second of that semi-final. If you'd have asked me 3 days ago who we played in that semi last season, I don't think I'd have been able to tell you. Maybe it's because we weren't there with COVID. But have you got any recollections of that game?
Yeah, I do actually. It was a decent game for us. We were absolutely battering them, and then they started turning into a little bit of a dirty, niggly team, almost trying to get us banned for the final. Yeah.
Right, Kev. I'm not having it that you've actually remembered that. That just sounds like Catalan full stop.
Well, based on the fact that it was Catalan, I hope that we take the lessons from last year, that semi-final, and we take the lessons from the Catalan game a couple of weeks ago at Magic as well. I think that is a massive, massive lesson for us to learn, that you might be 3 scores ahead and you think that you've won the game and you switch off, and it's very difficult to then swing that momentum back round.
Is that the importance of not conceding a consolation strike and then another one? And then another one after that?
Yeah, it's the importance of not tweeting that we've conceded a consolation try. Anyway,
I would do exactly the same thing again, even in a grand final.
That's why you're in charge of the socials, isn't it?
Right, shall we get to the squads, Kevin?
Yes. Yeah.
The big guns return, Kev. Full squad. The only players missing, obviously, Theo Farge and James Bentley, who Christian Wolf has now confirmed has gone for the season. So his final appearance, obviously, was at Magic. Some selection headaches to go through there?
Yeah, you don't want all the ins and outs of that squad then, the nine ins and 8 outs from the Salford squad, do you?
No.
Thank God for that.
Kids out, dads in.
There are some selection headaches. I think your main one is probably your last bench spot, and where does Jack Welsby play? But I think that Welsby will take on that role that he did a little bit earlier in the season, where he's on the bench and he comes on at 13 and gets his hands on the ball and makes things happen. And then if something goes wrong in the backs and we need to reshuffle, we're sticking someone who can literally play anywhere from 1 to 7 into one of them positions.
I think it's up to Jack Welsby this week. I think whether he wants to go on the left, go on the right, or sit in the centre of that bench, it's entirely up to him. But he will come on and influence the game.
Yeah.
And I don't get the. We've seen fans talking for Welsby to play over Coote at fullback or to play in the halves, either ahead of Johnny Lomax or Lewis Dodd. Do people say these things because they know it won't happen?
Is it an easy out? So if we do get beat, they say, well, that's what we should have gone with. I don't know. Is it an easy out? Is it easy because if Johnny Lomax had been playing for the past couple of weeks, we wouldn't be having these discussions. Now, I know that them two have brought a breath of fresh air into the halfback position, and I know that Welsby's tried some things, they've come off. Dodd's tried some things, they've come off. They're very, very exceptionally talented players. But I don't think you throw someone who has been nominated for Man of Steel, I don't think you just throw him out and start either switching him to fullback and throwing Coote out the team, or putting Lewis Dodd or Johnny Lomax on the bench when there's only really one or two positions that they can cover. I don't see the sense in that. I see the sense with going with your experienced heads, your international players, and going with Coote at 1, Lomax at 6, and Dodd at 7.
Johnny Lomax and Lewis Dodd are your halfback partnership for the next 2 or 3 years at least, until Johnny decides to call it a day. Jack Welsby is your fullback for the next 2 or 3 years. At that point, the decision will be to be made whether Jack Welsby has become a world-class fullback and you leave him there, or you then partner him in the halves with Lewis Dodd and sign a new fullback. That is it. And Christian Wolff is not going to go and change his approach, his winning formulas for the biggest game of the season. If he considered Jack Welsby playing fullback for this game, he'd have started there against Salford.
Yeah, to give him time. No, I agree with that. I think it's. I've just looked up. Lomax has got a contract until the end, at least the end of 2024. As you say, that's going to be the one, and then maybe it might be one of them where Lomax doesn't play as many games and he drops out. And as you say, you put the likes of Welsby in there, because Welsby has honed his game at fullback. But you know what? You can still see you want him to get his hands on the ball, which I like. I like seeing him involved more than at fullback. I like seeing him at 6. I like seeing him at 13. But yeah, I can't see much different to what you would expect. That 1 to 6 will line up as they are with Lewis Dodd. You're not going to throw Welsby in instead of Dodd when you've said that Dodd's your 7 for the next, or your next heir apparent number 7. You're not going to do that, because it sends a message to Lewis Dodd that, hang on a minute, do these actually want me?
Yeah.
I don't think you do that.
It also would be doing is suggesting that you don't trust him.
Yeah.
And long term, that causes a lot of damage. And to be perfectly honest, I think he's more than deserved his shot. He's waited in the wings that long. He's listen, like any young halfback, he's had great games. He's had good games. He's had the odd game where he's not really non-existent. But they're the growing pains you've got to have. And I'd rather he has them experiences now and help shape the next 5 or 10 years. And I'm more than confident that he will show up.
Was it the Leeds game at home where you said he hadn't got his hands on the ball, like in the first half? He hadn't really got his hands on the ball, but he was directing play. And listen, great scrum halves don't necessarily have to get their hands on the ball if it's working in front of you. And you've got Alex Walmsley rampaging, and you're picking the holes, and you're going, right, you're going to take this next run. Why does he have to? He can play in a dinner jacket for all he wants. It's only when
I think that's right, Kev.
I need to insert myself into play like he did in the second half. I'm going to insert myself into play here because I feel fresh and I can make something happen. And he did.
I think Alex Walmsley, at the end of the day, in that game, he was the hot rock, wasn't he? He's making unlimited meters down the field. Just keep feeding him. Feed the beast and he will score, or at least assist. I think we can probably, I'm guessing we can safely say we agree on 3 of the 4 who miss out of this squad. Ben Davis, Wingfield and Aaron Smith.
Yeah.
And then the 4th spot, I'm assuming, is going to be a shootout between Joel Thompson and Kyle Amor.
Yes, I would imagine so, and it depends what type of bench he wants to go with, because he's going to have Welsby on there. You'd imagine that it's going to be what Louis, Welsby, who else? Parsi. So he's got two big lads there, but does he go more for another prop? And LMS can fill in second row if we did need yet another second rower.
But does having Jack Welsby as a back on the bench mean that you go with the bigger man, and that's why Kyle Amor?
Well, I think Jack Welsby will interchange with Morgan Knowles. So I potentially, yeah, I think it'll be Kyle Amor. I think Kyle Amor will get that other bench spot. We were at a Tommy Makinson testimonial weren't we, the other night, and do say, like Christian Wolf said about Kyle Amor, he keeps on doing the right things to be in and around that 17-man squad, and he doesn't kind of throw his toys out the pram when he's not picked. He gets his head down and he does work and works more. I think possibly if Joel Thompson, as he said, his body is letting him down a little bit, and he might well be carrying a knock. It might be that we turn to Kyle Amor just because he's in better nick.
So the Leeds squad, Kev, full of big names. They've had players back, but it's likely to probably be the same 17 who took to the field and won so handsomely at Wigan last week. They're going to give us a game, you'd assume.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's it. When you've got the likes of Aledzki and Pryor up front, they're two good, very good props. So they are going to give us a game. Definitely. I'd like to see us, when Leeds do get a bit closer to our line, to shut down the play of the ball and make sure we're smart at marker, because when Brad Dwyer's on, you'd know he's just going to go for the gap. But they've got good players. Ash Hanley always seems to score against us in big games. I know they're missing the likes of Luke Gale there, who'd usually be the number 7, but they've still got enough to trouble us. As I say, if we turn up with the wrong attitude and the wrong application, then this Leeds team, they're going to go in full of beans after nailing Wigan. They've got a free hit. They've got every chance. Listen, the weather doesn't look great, which tends to level it out a little bit. If you start making handling errors near your own line and giving teams chance after chance after chance, listen, we're good defensively, but can you only keep teams out for so long before you start getting tired and it starts affecting your attacking work? So it will kind of level it out a little bit. We should still be confident. I will still say we should still be confident before the game that we could beat Leeds, but they'll give us more of a game than they did last time we played them at Out List.
Predictions?
Low scoring, 20 points to 4.
I heard you say that somewhere before, Kev.
Yeah, I said that we spoke to Betfred, didn't we? On the Last Tackle podcast. And yeah, I said 20 points to 4 then. I've not changed my mind. I think the weather will play a little bit of a part. Might be a little bit greasy, even if it's not raining. I think it'll be low scoring, but our defence will be good enough, hopefully.
Yeah. 38 points to 6. If we play at our potential, but equally, we're more than capable of throwing in a shocker like we did against Casserone. We'll know after 15 minutes of whether we're going to get through in this game or not, I think. You'll see how we perform. Other news of the week. Dream Team announced. 5 Saints players involved in the squad, the most of any of the Super League teams. Hard to argue with any of them, really, Kev. Jack Welsby in at centre.
Well, yeah, I think that's the position he's played the most, isn't it? To be honest, he could just have him as a player floating about everywhere. He could play a little bit of wing as well for you this year. He scored tries out there. Yeah, I think that's potentially the one that people will argue, because he's played here, there and everywhere. He's not just played one position, but it's difficult to leave a player of that calibre out of a team. And listen, if he's been nominated at centre and he's gone in at centre, then good. because he's been exceptional for us this year.
Yeah.
Can we just? There's one thing that I want to say about that dream team. Can we now stop saying that Morgan Knowles is an underrated player? He's not underrated. He's not in any stretch of the imagination an underrated player. I keep seeing it on. There's an account called Six Again, and they asked people for the underrated players, and Morgan Knowles won it. And they were quick to point out, rightly so, that it wasn't them who chose it, that it was fans who chose it. Morgan Knowles is not an underrated player. He's an absolute key player. We saw that when he didn't play. Was that the Castleford game? He didn't play and we lost it. And then he comes back in.
He was in the dream team last season.
Yeah. And then he's in England. He's an England international now. He's played international for a couple of years for Wales. Come over to England. He's a key part of our team. People are talking about him as he should be the next captain of the team. Yeah, all of a sudden he's also an underrated player. I don't know if that's our fans or if it's other fans, but he's not an underrated player. He is an exceptional player. He's one of the stars that we should be building Super League around.
And lastly, before we finish, the ladies made the grand final themselves last week with an overwhelming victory at the Totally Wicked. So they'll be facing the Leeds Rhinos at Headingley next week. So congratulations to the women's team. And hopefully the men's will be able to make it a double, joining them in the final. And we'll go more in depth on that one next week.
Yeah.
Kev, really looking forward to Friday. Friday the 1st of October. It's the day of the year where great things happen.
Certainly is.
45 years ago.
What happened 45 years ago? Because that was 4 years before I was born.
Oh, you're taking years off now.
Yeah, it's my birthday.
I was shocked this
Friday,
week, Kev,
so.
when somebody asked whether we were 25 or not.
Yeah, that's it. That's why we're loving Betfred at the minute. Yeah, he asked if we were over 25. I certainly am. Turning 41 on Friday. Just going back to that women's team game, 58-0 they won. And you know what? There were probably quite a few errors that they'll look to kind of clean up before that grand final. Because if you start making some of the errors against the team who are well up for it, as we say with Leeds, the men's team. What's that? On
home turf as well.
Yeah, that's it. They might get punished for them a little bit more than they did, but it's hard to be ultra critical when you absolutely dominate and boss a game and dictate where the play is going. And we interviewed Emily and Isabel Rudge, didn't we? Emily missed out with a knee injury, but yeah, interviewed them. So look back on our channel, find that interview. We do talk about the game, but there's plenty of other chat with them, including who they wouldn't have on the quiz team. It wasn't you for a change, Dave.
Listen, I'm a fountain of useless knowledge.
Yeah. Mainly right. Everton stuff.
Yeah. Right. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will catch you Friday night. Probably roughly stood where I am now. Beautiful weather. Catch you soon.